A woman's right to fair pay is at the center of a new battle going on Capitol Hill right now. Democrats say that it will show that the wage gap between men and women exists in the workplace, and Republicans say that it will just put more stress on small businesses. Andrew Santaros joins me now, Daily News columnist and co-host of The Five, and Margie Omero, president of Momentum Analysis, LLC, and Democratic pollster. Welcome, ladies. Good to have you both here today.
Great to be here. Thanks, Martha.
Obviously, you know, part of the center of this conversation is how both of the candidates, Mitt Romney and President Obama, are doing with women. So let's take a look at the latest poll and get that as a backdrop, and then we want to get your thoughts on this. President Obama, 51% favorability among women. Governor Romney's at 40%, but he's closed the gap considerably. He was down at 27%, as you can see in an earlier poll on that measure. So, Margie, why is this important, given the other rules that are already in place against, you know, any gender discrimination?
Well, it's common sense. It closes some loopholes, and it gives women more tools to just simply inquire if there is a gap and not fear retaliation from their employers. And it's supported by 84% of Americans.
All right, Andrea, why, you know, the other side of it is that small businesses may find it legally onerous, and when you talk about looking for those loopholes, I'm seeing lawsuits.
Yeah, well, look, there's plenty of laws on the books already to prevent discrimination. There's the Civil Rights Act, the Equal Pay Act, the Lilly Ledbetter Act. This is just a partisan political stunt to gain favor with women. I mean, women, if you look in metropolitan areas, are paid 23% more than men now, because remember the man session, all the men lost their jobs, women came into the workforce. And what this bill would do was it would impose likely federal pay mandates, which we don't want. We don't want businesses to have to disclose how much they pay their employees. But I will say this, right now there are no caps for discrimination lawsuits, and that's where Republicans are wrong. This bill would keep no caps in place. Because, look, if you're not making a lot of money, if you're discriminated against, you likely won't be able to afford a lawyer, and jury verdicts are only about $25,000 on average. So Republicans have that area wrong, but the rest of the bill, Democrats have wrong. It's just a total political ploy, wasting taxpayer dollars. That's the fair breakdown of what's happening.
It's an interesting point. You know, I just want to bring up this from the Independent Women's Forum, which looks at the comparison of, you know, how people are paid, men and women in the same job or men and women overall. And it seems that some of the discrepancy in pay comes if you look at men versus women overall in all jobs. And when you do that, you're going to find a discrepancy. But they're saying that, you know, this study by the Independent Women's Forum, that many women, not all, but enough to have a big impact on the statistics, trade higher pay for other desirable job characteristics, like flexibility and things like that. So I guess, is there really a pay discrepancy issue going on in this country, Margie?
Yes, there's absolutely a pay discrepancy issue, and this bill would not account for the fact that some women have less seniority in some jobs or take time off. What this bill would do was address the folks women who have the same job, the same tenure, the same education as their colleagues, but are getting paid less. And this bill is common sense. It makes it easier for employers, harder for employers to hide information from their employees, and it eliminates this sort of catch-all category of excuses as to why they're paying women less. It's common sense.
And if Republicans really messed up, I mean, even the Washington Post
really want to work
fact
for the middle-class voters.
Even the Washington Post fact checker, Jen Kessler, came out and said this data is wrong. As you point out, Martha, a lot of women become secretaries. A lot of women go off to have babies. That's why this data is showing this gender gap.
He said there's 3 different kinds of ways of looking at it, and they all show different kinds of gaps.
Nobody can hear what either one of you are saying, so just hold on a second.
By the way, Nancy Pelosi, maybe this bill should apply to her staff, because the Democratic minority leader that claims to be in favor of women pays her women $26,000 less than she pays her men.
It's interesting that you bring that up, actually, because there was a spokesperson on the Hill who, while talking about that same point, said, why don't we just hurl acid at the Democratic women senators? So that's where Republicans have taken this dialogue really to the gutter.
But
and if they really wanted to fight for women and for the middle class and for families, they would fight to make it easier for women who are being discriminated against to get retribution.
I think one of the main issues is whether or not, you know, the laws that are on the books are being enforced, and whether or not they do protect gender discrimination, which nobody would be in favor of.
Right.
You know, do we need another law is one of the big questions here. It looks like this one is not going to pass in its current form. But ladies, thank you very much. Important topic. Margie and Andrea, good to see you both.
Thanks, Martha.
Thanks so much, Martha.